Leo was just an ordinary boy from a quiet farming colony on the edge of Earth space. He lived on Terra 9, a small green planet with clean air, wide fields, and peaceful skies. The people there grew food, fixed old machines, and watched the stars. At night, they didn't have big cities or flying cars. They didn't need them. Life was simple. And Leo liked it that way. Leo was 17. He helped his father in the fields and fixed broken tractors. He liked books more than machines, and he often sat under the old blue tree near the river, reading stories about old Earth and the great cities that once touched the sky. One morning, everything changed. A large silver ship landed in the middle of the village. It made no sound, but everyone came running. The ship's door opened, and out stepped a tall woman with silver eyes and dark armor. She was not human. She was Zolari, one of the oldest and most powerful alien races in the galaxy. Her voice was calm but strong. "I'm Envoy Rena of the Queen's Hand. I bring word from Queen Alira of Villara. A name has been chosen." The village leaders came forward. They didn't understand. "What name?" The mayor asked. "A human must come to Villara, chosen by lottery. It is part of the unity agreement signed by your Earth Council. We study each other, share ideas. One human will speak before the Queen." She held up a small device that glowed. "This device has picked your name," she said, looking at Leo. Leo blinked. "Me? Yes. You are the chosen one." His father stepped forward. "He's just a boy." "But a fair choice," Rena replied. "The Queen wishes to understand humans better. He will not be harmed." Leo didn't know what to say. His hands were shaking, but he nodded. Something deep inside told him to go. He didn't want power or fame, but he was curious, and he had always wanted to see the stars. Within the hour, Leo was saying goodbye. His mother hugged him tight. His father placed a small silver pendant in his hand, his grandfather's old lucky charm. Leo climbed aboard the ship, and soon, Terra 9 was a small green dot far behind. The journey to Villara took only a day in Zolari ships. Their technology was far beyond anything humans had. The ship moved without noise, and inside, the air smelled like fresh rain. The walls glowed with soft light. Rena told Leo about the Queen. "She is wise, old, and always calm. She does not lie. She asks questions, and she expects truth in return." Leo nodded. "What kind of questions?" "You will see when they reached Villara." Leo couldn't believe his eyes. The planet was full of crystal towers that floated above silver lakes. The sky was purple with two suns shining softly. Creatures with wings flew through the air. People walked in silence, calm and proud. The Queen's palace was the biggest structure Leo had ever seen. It looked like it was made of glass and stars. The guards were tall, quiet, and wore armor that shimmered like water. They didn't speak, but they bowed as he passed. He was taken to a room with soft lights and a bed that floated above the floor. It was quiet, peaceful, but Leo couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about what the Queen might ask. The next morning, Rena returned. "The Queen will see you now." Leo followed her down long halls, past statues and glowing walls. They reached a tall door that opened slowly. Inside was a wide, open hall. At the far end sat Queen Alira on a silver throne. She wore a long white robe with glowing blue threads. Her eyes were deep and calm. Around her stood many scholars and guards. Leo walked forward. His heart beat fast, but he didn't look away. The Queen raised a hand. The room fell silent. "You are Leo, son of Earth." "Yes, Your Majesty," Leo said, his voice steady. "You were chosen by chance. But I believe chance is not without meaning." She said. Leo nodded, unsure what to say. "I have one question for you, human," the Queen said. "A simple one, and I wish a simple answer." "Yes, Queen." She looked straight into his eyes. "What do humans value most?" The room went still. No one moved. All the scholars leaned in. The guards stood like statues. Leo felt their eyes on him. He took a breath. He thought of his home, his family, the books he loved, the stories of Earth. He thought of war and peace, of pain and love, of laughter and sorrow. Then he looked up at the queen and gave his answer. Choice, silence. Not a word was spoken. The queen did not blink. Leo continued, his voice calm but sure. Humans value choice most of all. We want to decide. We want to choose who we are, what we believe, where we go. Even if the choice is hard, even if it leads to failure. The power to choose is what makes us human. The queen stared at him for a long moment. Her lips parted slightly, but she said nothing. Leo felt the weight of the silence. He had answered with his heart, not to impress anyone, not to sound clever, just truth. Then, slowly, the queen nodded once. She looked away, deep in thought. The scholars were whispering to each other. The guards glanced at one another. Something had shifted. Rena stepped forward. You will stay in the palace, Leo. The queen wishes to speak with you again. Leo gave a short bow. Yes, envoy. As he followed her out of the hall, he looked back once. Queen Alira was still sitting on her throne, still silent, still thoughtful. His answer had left her speechless. And somewhere deep inside, Leo knew this was only the beginning. Leo walked quietly beside Rena as she led him back to his room. The long silver halls of the palace were empty, and the air felt still, even though no one spoke. Leo could feel the tension around him. Something had changed after he gave his answer. To the queen, his words had gone deeper than he expected. That night, Leo sat near the large window in his room. The view showed the sky of Velara, glowing with stars and soft purple light. Flying creatures soared in the distance, and the twin moons rose slowly. He held the small silver pendant his father gave him and thought about what had happened. He didn't know if his answer was right. He only knew it was honest. He hadn't planned it. It had come from the heart. The next morning, Rena returned. She was quiet, more thoughtful than before. The queen wishes to speak with you again, she said. Leo nodded. About yesterday. Yes, she wants to understand. They walked through a different hallway this time, with walls that shimmered like soft water. The guards at the doors stepped aside, and Leo entered a smaller chamber. It was warm and filled with soft light. Queen Alira sat on a silver chair, not her grand throne. There were no guards or scholars this time, just her and Leo. Sit, she said, pointing to a chair across from her. Leo sat, keeping his hands still in his lap. The queen looked at him closely. Her voice was calm but curious. You said humans value choice most. Tell me more. Why not power? Why not peace? Leo thought for a moment. Power is empty if someone else forces you to use it their way. Peace means little if it's not chosen freely. Choice gives meaning to everything else. Alira tilted her head. But choice brings mistakes, war, pain. If a leader chooses wrong, many suffer. Leo nodded. That's true. But even with mistakes, we grow. We learn from failure. If someone else chooses everything for us, we stop growing. We become like machines. The queen looked down for a moment. The Solari gave up emotions long ago. We believed emotion made choices weak. Leo shook his head gently. Emotion isn't weakness. It's part of being alive. Without it, choices lose meaning. We care because we feel. Alira looked at him in silence. Then she stood up and walked to a glowing wall. She touched it, and a small image appeared in the air, moving pictures of old Zolari history. You may not know this, she said, but long ago, our people were not so different from yours. We had families, stories, music, but over time, we began to remove emotion from our lives. We believed logic would guide us better. Our world became peaceful, but cold. Leo stood up slowly and looked at the images. The old Zolari smiled and danced in the past. The present-day ones were calm but quiet, almost lifeless. Do you miss those days? Leo asked. Alira was silent for a long moment. Then she said, sometimes I wonder what we lost. They stood together, watching the old images. Later, Leo returned to his room, but he couldn't sleep. Thoughts filled his head. The queen was not what he expected. She was not cruel or proud. She was searching for something missing. The next day, Leo was allowed to walk through the palace gardens. The gardens were huge, filled with glowing plants, soft lights, and small pools of clear water. A young Zalari girl was sitting near one of the pools, watching the fish swim. Leo walked over. "Hello." She looked up, surprised. "You're the human." "Yes, I'm Leo." "I'm Nira," she said quietly. They sat together. Nira was shy, but curious. She asked many questions about Earth, about rain, music, color, and food. Leo told her about chocolate, snow, and songs that made people cry. "Why would a song make someone cry?" she asked. "Because it reminds them of something deep inside." Leo answered, "Something beautiful, or something lost." She didn't speak for a while. Then she said, "I want to feel that." That evening, Queen Alira called Leo once more. This time, they met in a tall room filled with small stars floating in the air. The stars moved slowly. Showing the map of the galaxy, "Leo," the queen said, "I've spoken with my scholars. Some are troubled by your words. They fear humans are trying to change us." "I didn't come to change anyone," Leo said. "I just answered your question." The queen nodded. "And yet, your answer has caused ripples." She walked to the center of the room. The stars turned and glowed brighter. "Do you know why I asked that question?" she asked. Leo shook his head. "Because after all our wisdom and logic, we still don't understand something. We don't understand why humans, so young and emotional, survive through chaos. Why do you keep rising again and again?" She turned to face him. "Your people are not the strongest, not the smartest, but you keep moving forward. Why?" Leo smiled softly. "Because we believe tomorrow can be better, even if today is hard." The queen looked at him for a long time. Then, in a soft voice, she said, "That is something even we forgot." Back in his room, Leo wrote in the journal the queen had given him, a simple book with blank pages. He wrote about home, about Terra 9, about his parents and the blue tree by the river. He wrote about choice, about hope, about Nira and her questions, about Alira's quiet eyes. He didn't know what would happen next, but he could feel it. Something was changing, not just in the palace, but in the hearts of the Zalari. And all because of a simple question and an honest answer. 2 days had passed since Leo gave his answer to the queen. The palace felt different now. It was still quiet and peaceful, but there was something new in the air: whispers, stares, and soft footsteps that stopped when Leo passed by the Zalari. People were watching him more closely now. Some smiled, others looked away, a few looked angry. Leo didn't understand why, but he could feel the change. His words had not just reached the queen. They had started to spread. That morning, Rena met Leo in the palace garden. She looked more serious than usual. "The queen has asked for another meeting," she said. "But this time, the scholars will be there." Leo raised an eyebrow. "All of them?" Rena nodded. "Yes. Some want to understand you better. Some do not." The chamber was wide and round, filled with glowing panels and floating symbols. Around the edges stood over 20 Zalari scholars. They wore long robes and thin metal bands around their heads. They were the queen's advisors, masters of history, logic, and knowledge. Queen Alira sat in the center on a tall chair made of clear crystal. Leo stood before her. One of the scholars, an older Zalari with sharp eyes, stepped forward. "I am Scholar Fen. May I ask the human a question?" The queen nodded. "You may." Fen looked at Leo. "You said humans value choice most of all. But choice leads to chaos, war, suffering. Look at your own history. So much pain. How can you still believe choice is better than order?" Leo stayed calm. He had thought about this. "Yes, it's true," he said. "Our history is pain. We've made mistakes, big ones. But every time we fall, we get back up. We try again. We learn. And we become stronger." Fen frowned. "But isn't it better to avoid the fall?" Leo nodded. "Yes, but not at the cost of freedom. If we give up choice, we give up who we are. We become something less. Even a perfect life means nothing if someone else controls it." Another scholar, a younger woman named Ellen, stepped forward. Her voice was softer. "What gives your people strength to keep going after loss?" Leo thought for a moment. Hope, he said. Hope that things can change. That tomorrow can be better. That we still have something worth fighting for. The room was quiet. Queen Alira watched closely, her hands resting on the arms of her chair. Scholar Fen stepped forward again. You speak with heart, human. But heart is not enough to build a world. Leo looked at him and said, maybe not. But heart is what makes the world worth building. That simple line sent a wave of silence through the room. Even Fen said nothing more. Queen Alira stood. That will be all for today. Thank you, Leo. After the meeting, Rena walked beside Leo down the quiet hallway. You surprised them, she said. I didn't try to, Leo replied. I know. That's why it worked. They walked in silence for a while. Then Rena added, some of the older scholars are worried. They think your words are dangerous. Leo looked at her. Dangerous? Why? Because they make others ask questions. Later that day, Leo sat in the garden again. He saw Nira, the young Zalari girl, sitting by the water. She waved him over. Did you speak to the queen again? She asked. Yes, Leo said. And the scholars too. Were they kind? Some were. Some were not. She looked at him. Why would anyone not want to understand? Leo smiled gently. Because understanding something new means you might have to change, and change can be scary. Nira picked up a small stone and threw it into the water. I want to understand. I want to feel more. But sometimes I'm scared too. Leo nodded. It's okay to be scared. That's how we know we're doing something important. She looked up at him. Can you teach me more? Leo paused, then said, I'll try. But I'm still learning too. That night, the queen called for Leo again. But this time it was different. She took him through a hidden door behind her chamber. It led to a quiet place deep inside the palace. The walls were dark, with soft blue lights glowing like stars. This is the memory room, she said. Few are allowed to enter. It holds the past of my people. In the center was a tall, clear column filled with floating lights. Alira touched the side, and the lights changed into moving pictures. Leo saw images of the old Zalari families laughing, children playing, people singing and dancing. Then he saw war, fear, and finally cold silence. The emotions faded. The faces became blank. The music stopped. We chose to remove feelings, Alira said, to stop pain, to stop fear. But we also lost joy, love, wonder. Over time, we forgot why we did it. Leo stepped forward. You tried to fix one problem, but created another. Yes, she whispered. And now, many of us don't even remember what we lost. She turned to face Leo. When you said humans value choice, it shook me, because I realized our people no longer choose. We follow rules, logic, patterns, but not desire, not dreams. Leo looked into her eyes. You still can, Queen Alira. It's not too late. The queen stood in silence. Then she whispered, I don't know how. Leo smiled softly. That's why I'm here. As they left the memory room, Alira said, some of the old ones will not accept change. Be careful. Leo, you speak truth, but not all are ready to hear it. Leo nodded. I understand. But I can't stop telling the truth. It's who I am. That night, as he wrote in his journal, Leo thought about the faces he saw in the memory room. The joy, the love, the pain. All of it was part of being alive. He now understood something clearly. The queen didn't just ask a question that day. She had opened a door, and now that door could never be closed again. The next morning, Leo sat in the palace garden, watching the twin suns rise above the crystal towers of Velara. The light touched the silver trees and glowing flowers, making the world look like a dream. But Leo's heart was heavy. Something had changed after the visit to the memory room. He had seen the past of the Zalari, what they were, what they gave up. Now, Queen Alira was asking questions not just as a ruler, but as someone looking for something lost. As he sat in silence, a familiar voice called out, Leo. He turned and saw Nira running toward him, her long robe flowing behind her. Her face, though still calm, had a spark of light in it, something new. I made something, she said, holding up a small silver disc. Can I show you? Leo nodded. Of course. They sat on the soft grass. Nira pressed the disc, and soft music began to play. It wasn't like the deep, serious music of the Zalari. It was light and warm. It had feeling. It had heart. Leo listened closely. Did you make this? Yes, she said proudly. I studied Earth songs. I didn't understand them at first. But then I remembered something you said, that feelings make things real. So I tried to feel something while I wrote it. Leo smiled. It's beautiful, Nira. She looked down shyly. I think I felt joy. He nodded. That's a good feeling. As they sat in the garden, more young Zalari passed by. A few stopped to listen. One of them asked, "What is this sound?" Nira answered, "It's music, but with feeling." More gathered. No one said much, but they listened. Leo saw the change beginning with his own eyes. Later that day, Queen Alira invited Leo back to the memory room. "I have been thinking about your words," she said as they walked inside, "and about our past." They stood before the glowing column again. She touched it. In another memory appeared a young Zalari boy running through a green field, laughing as his parents chased him. "This was my brother," Alira said softly. Before the silence, Leo watched in silence. The joy in the boy's face was pure, alive. "When we removed emotions, we lost not only pain, but the memories connected to feeling," she said. "Now I wonder if we lost more than we ever understood." Leo looked at her. "Why did you agree to bring a human here, Queen Alira? Did you already feel something missing?" Alira turned to him slowly. "Yes, I did not know what it was, but I felt empty. I thought maybe your people, so full of emotion and fire, could help me see clearly." Leo didn't answer right away. Then he said, "I think that's the first step. Feeling the emptiness means you still have the heart to search." That evening, a message came to the queen from her high council. The older scholars had requested a private meeting. Alira agreed and brought Leo with her. Inside a tall silver hall, the scholars stood in a circle. Some nodded politely to Leo. Others looked cold. Scholar Fen, the oldest, spoke first. "Your Majesty, we have watched this human closely. His words are powerful, but his ideas are dangerous." Queen Alira raised her hand. "Dangerous how?" "He speaks of change, of feeling, of choice. These things bring chaos. Our peace will not survive them." Another scholar, Mira, added. "Already the young ones are asking questions. They listen to earth music. They try to smile. Some even cry. This is not our way." Leo stepped forward. "Maybe your way needs more heart." Finn looked at him. "And who are you to tell us that?" "I'm not here to tell you who to be," Leo said calmly. "But I'm here to tell the truth. Your people are not machines. You feel. I've seen it." He looked around the room. "I've seen curiosity. I've seen wonder. I've seen fear. Feelings are already inside you. You've just been taught to ignore them." The room was silent. Queen Alira spoke. "Leo has not forced us to change. He only answered a question. But that answer has touched something deep in us." Fen replied, "And if this change leads to disorder, then we guide it," the queen said. "We learn to feel again, not to destroy, but to grow." The council fell quiet. Some nodded. Others did not. That night, the palace lights were dim. Leo sat by the window, thinking about the council. He knew some of the scholars would never accept what he said, but others were starting to listen. He heard a soft knock. It was Nira. "I brought you something," she said. She handed him a small book. Inside were drawings, simple pictures of music, trees, smiling faces, and stars. "I made this after talking with you," she said. "I never drew anything before, but now I want to." Leo turned the pages slowly. "This is wonderful." "Nira," she smiled. "I want to remember how I feel." The next day, Queen Alira made a choice that surprised everyone. She invited children from across Velara to visit the palace. She asked Leo to speak to them. She told them stories of Earth, of human courage, and of love. The children listened with wide eyes. They laughed, asked questions, and even clapped. Some of the guards looked shocked, but the queen watched with a quiet smile. Later, When Leo and Alira walked through the garden, she said, "I never thought I would see my people smile again." Leo looked at her. "It starts small, but small things grow." She nodded. "I want to help that growth. Not with orders, but with permission. To let my people feel again," Leo said. "Then you've already taken the first step." But far across the city, in the hidden corners of the council hall, a few of the oldest voices spoke in secret. "The queen listens to the human too closely," one said. "She changes too fast," another replied. "We must protect our way," said Fen, his eyes cold, "even if it means removing the boy." In the shadows, a quiet plan began to form. The changes Leo had started in the palace were spreading fast. The young Zalari were curious, and some of the older ones were afraid. Whispered talks filled the palace halls. Some spoke with hope, others with anger. Nira was one of the young Zalari, who followed Leo's words closely. She practiced feeling music, watching the stars, and even smiling more often. She wanted to understand what it meant to be alive. One day, Leo found Nira near the palace gardens, sitting quietly by a glowing flower. "I feel different," she said softly. "Like something inside me is waking up." Leo smiled. "That is good, Nira. Feelings are the light in the dark." But not everyone was happy. Deep beneath the shining towers of Velara, hidden from the queen and her court, a group of the oldest Zalari gathered in secret. They met in a dark chamber filled with cold stones and silent machines. "We cannot let this continue," said Scholar Fen. His eyes burned with anger. "This human spreads dangerous ideas. He weakens our people." Another elder nodded. "The young are losing respect for our ways. They listen to his stories and his songs. Soon, they will reject our laws." Fen's voice grew cold. "The queen listens to him too much. We must act." They planned quietly, waiting for the right moment. Meanwhile, Leo was unaware of the shadow growing against him. He continued to teach Nira and other young Zalari about Earth, about hope, and about choice. One afternoon, while walking in the palace gardens, Leo heard soft footsteps behind him. He turned and saw a group of young Zalari, their faces curious but nervous. "Leo," said one named Mara, "we want to learn. But some say this is wrong." Leo looked at them kindly. "It is never wrong to ask questions, to feel, to choose." The young Zalari nodded, hope shining in their eyes. But the elders watched closely. They sent spies to report every move Leo made. One evening, Leo sat with Nira and Mara in the quiet garden. The twin moons shone above, casting soft silver light. "I want to show you something," Leo said, pulling a small box from his bag. Inside was a simple instrument, a human guitar. He played a soft tune, the notes warm and full of feeling. Nira's eyes widened. Mara smiled for the first time. "This music," Leo said, "is about life, about pain and joy, about the choices we make." Suddenly, voices called from the palace entrance. Guards ran past them. Leo stood quickly. "What is happening?" A guard approached, looking serious. "You are requested at the queen's chamber immediately." Leo followed the guard. Inside the queen's chamber, Queen Alira stood with a troubled look. Beside her were the leaders of the High Council. "Leo," she said, "there's unrest below." Some among the elders opposed. "What is happening?" "They want to stop the change." Leo nodded. "I understand." Alira looked at him with deep concern. "They may act soon. You must be careful." Leo bowed his head. "I will." As he left the chamber, he felt the weight of danger, but he also felt a strange strength. He was not alone. That night, Leo and Nira met in secret. She was worried. "They say they want to remove you," she whispered, "to stop the change." Leo reached out and took her hand. "Then we must be ready." Nira's eyes filled with tears. "I'm scared." "Fear is part of choice," Leo said softly, "but so is courage." Together, they planned to talk to the young Zalari, to help them understand why choice mattered, why feeling mattered. The next day, Leo stood before a small group of young Zalari in the palace courtyard. "Change is not easy," he said, "but without choice, there's no life. We must be brave, not just with swords, but with our hearts." The young Zalari listened closely. Some nodded, some smiled. A few wiped tears from their eyes. News of this gathering spread quickly. More came to listen. Some elders watched from the shadows, their faces hard. One night, Leo was taken from his room by palace guards. They brought him to a secret hall deep below the palace. In the cold darkness, Fen and other elders waited. You speak of change, Fen said, but you do not see the danger. Your words divide us. Leo looked at them without fear. I see more clearly than you. Without choice, your people lose their soul. Fen growled. You threaten our way of life. Leo smiled. I only offer truth. The elders debated. Some wanted to send Leo away. Others wanted to silence him forever. But before a decision was made, Queen Alira entered the chamber. Enough, she said firmly. Leo stays. His words are difficult, but they are not lies. Fen glared at her. Your Majesty, you risk everything for a human. Alira stood tall. I risk everything for my people, for their future. The elders fell silent. That night, Leo returned to his room. He looked at the silver pendant in his hand and thought of his home. He knew the path ahead was dangerous, but he also knew something stronger was growing. Hope and the power of choice. The palace was quieter than usual. A strange tension filled the air. Word had spread that Leo would face a trial. The High Council of Velara had gathered in the Great Hall, and many watched with both fear and hope. Leo stood in the center of the chamber. The walls were tall and gleamed with silver light. Round him stood the elders, the Queen's guards, and many Zalari citizens. Among them were friends young Zalari who believed in what Leo had said, and some who doubted him. Queen Alira sat on her throne, calm and steady. She raised her hand, and silence fell. Leo, human of Earth. She began, you are accused by some that your words have disturbed the peace of Velara, that your ideas threaten our culture and order. This trial will decide your fate. Leo looked around, meeting the eyes of many who waited to hear him. Speak your truth, Alira said. The first to speak was Scholar Fen. His voice was sharp. You claim that choice and emotion are what make life worth living. But your people have brought chaos and war too many worlds. How can you say your way is better than ours? Why should we accept your weak emotions over our strong logic? Leo took a deep breath. War and peace come from choices, yes, but it is because of choice that we grow stronger. Your way without emotion has kept peace, but it has also kept your people silent and still. Without the freedom to choose, you lose what makes you alive. A murmur ran through the crowd. Some whispered agreement, others frowned. Next, a young scholar named Mira stepped forward. Leo, you inspire many, but change can destroy. What if your ideas cause more suffering? How can we trust your words? Leo nodded respectfully. Change can be hard. It can bring fear and pain. But staying the same when something is missing is its own pain. I don't promise easy answers, only that. Choice means living with hope, even in uncertainty. Queen Alira listened quietly. Then she stood and spoke. Leo has brought us a question we forgot to ask. We seek to balance logic and feeling. This trial is not to punish, but to learn. The trial lasted hours. Leo answered every question honestly. He told stories of Earth, of people who made mistakes but never gave up. He spoke of courage, love, and hope. He spoke of the power of simple truths and the strength found in choice. At the end, Queen Alira looked around the room. Leo has not come here to conquer or command. He came with honesty. That honesty has opened a new path for Velara. She turned to the High Council. Do we accept this truth, or do we close our eyes and ears? The chamber was silent. Then one by one, the younger scholars nodded. Some elders hesitated, but the Queen's words carried weight. Finally, Scholar Fen bowed his head slightly. After the trial, the Queen invited Leo to a quiet garden. The air was warm and the stars bright. You have changed much here, she said. Softly, more than I expected. Leo smiled. I only spoke from my heart. Alira looked at him with respect. Your honesty gave us courage to see differently. I am grateful. Leo looked up at the stars. The courage comes from you too, Queen Alira. You dared to listen. She nodded. And now, the future belongs to all who choose to embrace it. But not all were happy. In the shadows, the old council members whispered plans. The change was not finished, and danger still waited. Leo and the young Zalari knew their journey had only begun. The days after the trial were filled with quiet hope. Valara was changing, slowly but surely. The Queen's choice to listen to Leo had opened a door, and through it, new ideas, feelings, and dreams began to flow. Leo walked through the palace gardens with Nira and Mara. The flowers glowed softly, and the twin moons hung low in the sky. The young Zalari were learning to smile, to ask questions, to listen to their own hearts. Do you think the old council will accept this? Mara asked, her voice small. Leo looked at her and smiled. Some will, some won't. But change is never easy, Nira nodded. But it feels right, Leo agreed. It does. Queen Alira watched from her throne, proud but cautious. She had seen the first steps of a great journey, but she knew it would not be smooth. One evening, she called Leo to her chambers. The High Council still holds power, she said. Some want to stop this new way before it grows. We must be careful. Leo bowed. I am ready for whatever comes. The Queen placed her hand on his shoulder. You carry the hope of two worlds. Not long after, news came that a group of the oldest council members planned to block the new changes. They gathered support among those who feared losing control. Leo and the young Zalari met secretly to plan. We cannot fight with swords. Leo said, we must fight with ideas, with truth. Nira agreed. We will share stories. We will teach feeling. We will show that choice brings strength. The group grew. More Zalari joined. The palace halls echo with laughter, music, and quiet conversations about the future. One morning, the Queen called a grand meeting of all Zalari. The large hall was full. Even some elders came. Curious or cautious. Queen Alira spoke with quiet power. We stand at a crossroads, she said. We can choose to hold tightly to the past, or we can open our hearts and minds to what is possible. She looked around. I ask you, my people, what do you value most? The hall was silent. Then, one by one, voices rose. Choice, hope, feeling, growth. The Queen smiled. Then it is settled. Valara will change, not by force, but by will, by the choice of its people. Leo stood beside the Queen, feeling the weight of the moment. His journey from a quiet farm boy on Terra 9 to this place had been hard and full of danger. But now, as he looked at the faces around him, young and old, full of hope, he knew it had been worth it. Because he had answered a simple question with truth. Because sometimes truth can change a world. That night, Leo and Nira stood in the palace garden, watching the twin moons rise. Do you think humans and Zalari can truly live together? Nira asked. Leo smiled. I believe we already do. In stories, in hope, in choice. She took his hand. Thank you for teaching me. He squeezed her hand gently. Thank you for learning. The silver pendant in Leo's pocket glowed softly, a gift from his father, a reminder of home. As the stars shone above Valara, Leo whispered quietly, this is just the beginning, the end.